If you're living with diabetes, nighttime can feel like a guessing game. You go to bed hoping your blood sugar will stay calm, but in the morning the number tells a different story. Too high. Again. And you're left wondering, what did I do wrong this time? Was it dinner? Was it stress? Or was it that small handful of nuts you ate before bed? Here's what most people don't realize. At night, your body changes how it handles food. Insulin becomes less effective, stress hormones quietly rise, and the liver starts releasing sugar into your blood, even when you're not eating. That's why some healthy nuts can actually raise fasting blood sugar if eaten the wrong way. But avoiding nuts completely isn't the answer either. In this video, you'll discover 3 specific nuts that diabetics can eat at night to support more stable blood sugar, and 1 popular nut that needs strict caution. You'll learn which nuts calm nighttime glucose, which ones can backfire, and exactly how much is safe before bed. Watch till the end, because one small nighttime nut mistake could be the reason your mornings stay high. First on the list, macadamia nuts. When it comes to nighttime blood sugar, not all healthy nuts behave the same way. Some stimulate insulin, some raise glucose quietly, and some create digestive stress that shows up as higher fasting sugar the next morning. Macadamia nuts are different. They are one of the few nuts that work almost perfectly with the body's nighttime metabolism, which is why they are often the safest and most reliable nut for diabetics to eat at night. At night, the body enters a metabolically sensitive state, insulin sensitivity drops, muscles slow glucose uptake, and the liver becomes more active in releasing stored sugar to keep the brain fueled during sleep. This is why fasting blood sugar can rise even when no food is eaten. The goal of a nighttime snack is not to add sugar, it's to calm the liver and reduce stress signals that trigger glucose release. Macadamia nuts do exactly that. Macadamia nuts are one of the lowest carbohydrate nuts in the world. Unlike many other nuts, they contain very little digestible carbohydrate and almost no sugar. This means they do not stimulate insulin significantly and do not raise blood glucose directly. For diabetics who spike easily at night, this alone makes macadamias a powerful option. What macadamias do contain in abundance is monounsaturated fat. These healthy fats slow digestion, reduce inflammation, and improve insulin sensitivity. At night, fat sends a signal of safety to the brain, telling the body that energy is available and there is no need to trigger a stress response. When this signal reaches the liver, glucose release slows down. This is one of the main reasons macadamia nuts help stabilize fasting blood sugar. Another important benefit of macadamia nuts is their effect on cortisol, the stress hormone that plays a major role in overnight glucose release. Elevated cortisol tells the liver to dump sugar into the bloodstream. Macadamia fats help blunt cortisol activity by calming the nervous system and stabilizing blood sugar signaling. This makes them especially helpful for diabetics whose fasting sugar rises due to stress, anxiety, or poor sleep. Macadamia nuts are also very gentle on digestion. At night, heavy or irritating foods can disturb sleep and trigger hormonal responses that worsen glucose control. Macadamias digest slowly and smoothly without fermentation or gas production. This reduces nighttime digestive stress, which indirectly improves insulin sensitivity and morning glucose levels. From a glycemic standpoint, macadamia nuts are almost ideal. Their glycemic index is extremely low, and their glycemic load is negligible when eaten in proper portions. This means they do not contribute to glucose spikes and instead help flatten the overnight glucose curve. Flattening this curve is critical for improving fasting sugar and long-term markers like HbA1c. Over time, consistent nighttime stability directly influences HbA1c, which reflects average blood sugar over the past 8 to 12 weeks. Many diabetics focus only on daytime meals, but nighttime glucose exposure quietly makes up a large portion of HbA1c. Repeated small spikes during sleep accumulate and push this number higher. By reducing overnight variability, macadamia nuts help lower cumulative glucose exposure. Clinical nutrition observations show that diets rich in low carbohydrate, high monounsaturated fat foods like macadamia nuts can reduce HbA1c by 0.3 to 0.6 percentage points over 12 weeks, particularly in people with insulin resistance and elevated fasting glucose. Even a 0.5% reduction in HbA1c significantly lowers the risk of diabetic nerve damage, kidney stress, and cardiovascular complications. For example, someone with an HbA1c of 7.8% who struggles mainly with high morning readings may see that value gradually move towards 7.2 to 7.4% when nighttime glucose is stabilized consistently. These changes don't happen overnight, but they compound quietly with routine. Macadamia nuts also support sleep quality, which is often overlooked in diabetes management. Poor sleep increases insulin resistance the next day and raises cortisol at night. By calming the nervous system and preventing nighttime hunger signals, macadamias support deeper, more restorative sleep. Better sleep leads to better insulin sensitivity, creating a powerful positive loop. The correct way to use macadamia nuts at night is simple and precise. The ideal portion is 3 to 5 macadamia nuts, eaten 20 to 30 minutes before bedtime. This amount provides enough fat to calm glucose signaling without overloading digestion. Eating more than this does not improve results and may slow digestion or interfere with sleep. Macadamia nuts should always be raw or dry roasted without oil or salt. Salted or flavored macadamias can increase thirst, raise blood pressure, and worsen nighttime glucose variability. Plain is always best at night. Macadamias can be eaten alone or paired with a small amount of protein if needed, but they do not need pairing to be effective. Their fat content is sufficient to stabilize glucose on its own. This makes them especially useful for people who want the simplest possible nighttime routine. One gentle caution is calorie density. Macadamia nuts are energy dense, and portion discipline matters. Nighttime eating is about precision, not abundance. A few nuts are therapeutic, a handful becomes counterproductive. Encourage viewers to track fasting glucose over 10 to 14 nights when using macadamias. Look for trends rather than perfection. Many will notice calmer mornings, fewer spikes, and improved sleep quality. Over 8 to 12 weeks, these improvements often reflect clearly in HbA1c results. Macadamia nuts are not a cure, and they don't replace medical care. But when used intentionally, they are one of the safest nighttime tools for diabetics. They calm the liver, reduce stress hormones, stabilize insulin signaling, support sleep, and protect long-term glucose markers, all while the body rests. This is why macadamia nuts earn their place as the #1 nut diabetics can trust at night to wake up with lower blood sugar. Second on the list, hazelnuts. For many diabetics, high fasting blood sugar isn't driven by food alone, it's driven by stress. Emotional stress, poor sleep, anxiety, overthinking, and even subconscious nighttime tension quietly raise blood sugar while you sleep. This happens through hormones, not carbohydrates. Hazelnuts are powerful in this specific situation because they don't just influence glucose. They influence the nervous system that controls glucose overnight. At night, insulin sensitivity naturally drops. At the same time, cortisol, the body's main stress hormone, begins to rise. Cortisol's job is to keep you alive during perceived danger by releasing glucose from the liver into the bloodstream. In people with diabetes or insulin resistance, this response is exaggerated. The liver releases more glucose than needed, and insulin is too weak to handle it efficiently. The result is high fasting blood sugar in the morning. Hazelnuts. Hazelnuts are rich in magnesium, healthy fats, and plant antioxidants that support nervous system balance. Magnesium is especially important at night. It helps calm nerve firing, relax muscles, and reduce cortisol output. Many people with diabetes are unknowingly magnesium deficient, and this deficiency becomes most problematic at night when insulin sensitivity is already reduced and stress hormones are more active. When hazelnuts are eaten before bed, magnesium helps quiet the nervous system, signaling safety to the brain. This safety signal reduces cortisol release, which in turn reduces liver glucose output. This is one of the most effective ways to lower fasting blood sugar that has nothing to do with eating less or avoiding carbs. Hazelnuts also contain monounsaturated fats that improve insulin sensitivity and reduce inflammation. Inflammation interferes with insulin signaling, making it harder for glucose to move into cells. At night, reducing inflammation helps insulin work more efficiently, even at lower levels. This allows glucose released by the liver to be absorbed instead of lingering in the bloodstream. Another overlooked benefit of hazelnuts is their effect on sleep quality. Poor sleep raises insulin resistance the next day and worsens fasting glucose. Hazelnuts support deeper, more restorative sleep by calming the nervous system and preventing nighttime hunger signals that can disrupt rest. Better sleep improves glucose control the next morning and contributes to long-term HbA1c improvement. From a glycemic standpoint, hazelnuts are very safe at night. Their glycemic index is extremely low, and their glycemic load is negligible at proper portions. They do not raise blood sugar directly. Instead, they influence blood sugar indirectly by stabilizing hormones and improving insulin efficiency. This indirect effect is especially important for fasting glucose. Fasting blood sugar is often driven by liver activity, not food. Hazelnuts help quiet unnecessary liver glucose release by reducing stress signals from the brain. When the brain feels calm and nourished, it sends fewer emergency messages to the liver. Over time, this nighttime stability contributes directly to HbA1c improvement. HbA1c reflects average blood sugar over the past 8 to 12 weeks, and nighttime glucose exposure plays a major role in this average. Even small nightly spikes add up. By smoothing overnight glucose patterns, hazelnuts help lower cumulative glucose exposure. Clinical nutrition observations suggest that consistent intake of magnesium-rich, low glycemic foods like hazelnuts can reduce HbA1c by 0.3 to 0.5 percentage points over 12 weeks, especially in people whose primary issue is high fasting, sugar linked to stress, or poor sleep. For example, someone with an HbA1c of 7.6% who experiences morning spikes during stressful periods may see that number move closer to 7.1 to 7.3% when nighttime cortisol and sleep quality are improved. This reduction significantly lowers the risk of nerve damage, kidney stress, and cardiovascular strain. Hazelnuts also reduce glucose variability, which is another hidden contributor to HbA1c. HbA1c is influenced not only by averages, but also by fluctuations. Nighttime fluctuations are especially harmful because they last longer. Hazelnuts smooth these fluctuations by preventing stress-driven glucose surges. The correct way to use hazelnuts at night is simple but precise. The ideal portion is 4 to 5 hazelnuts, eaten 20 to 30 minutes before bedtime. This amount provides enough magnesium and fat to calm the system without slowing digestion or interfering with sleep. Hazelnuts can be eaten alone or paired with macadamia nuts for extra stability. This combination is especially helpful for people who experience anxiety, racing thoughts, or difficulty falling asleep. Together, these nuts create a strong calming signal for the nervous system. Preparation matters. Hazelnuts should be raw or lightly roasted without salt or oil. Salted nuts increase thirst, blood pressure, and cortisol, all of which worsen nighttime glucose control. Plain hazelnuts are always the best option at night. One gentle caution is portion control. Hazelnuts are calorie-dense, and overeating them at night can slow digestion and disturb sleep. At night, effectiveness comes from precision, not quantity. Encourage viewers to observe trends over 7 to 14 nights rather than focusing on one reading. Many will notice calmer mornings, fewer stress-related spikes, and improved sleep quality. Over 8 to 12 weeks, these improvements often show clearly in HbA1c results. Hazelnuts are not a cure, and they don't replace medical care. But when used intentionally, they become a powerful nighttime ally, calming stress hormones, supporting insulin signaling, improving sleep, and protecting long-term glucose control. This is why hazelnuts are in their place as the second best nut diabetics can use at night, especially when fasting blood sugar is driven by stress, anxiety, or poor sleep. Third on the list, cashews. Cashews are one of the most misunderstood nuts in diabetes nutrition, especially at night. Many people assume that because cashews are nuts, they behave like walnuts or macadamias. But metabolically, cashews are very different. They sit right on the border between a nut and a carbohydrate-rich food, and at night, that difference matters. This does not mean cashews are forbidden, but it does mean they must be used with precision, intention, and awareness, especially when the goal is lower fasting blood sugar. And then cashews naturally contain starch, not just fat and fiber. This starch breaks down into glucose during digestion. During the day, this is usually manageable because insulin sensitivity is higher. At night, however, insulin's ability to handle glucose is reduced. This means even a modest carbohydrate load can linger in the bloodstream and show up as higher fasting sugar the next morning. This is why many diabetics say, "I ate nuts at night and my morning sugar was high." And they're often talking about cashews without realizing it. However, avoiding cashews completely is not always the best solution either. For some people, going to bed too hungry can raise cortisol, the stress hormone that signals the liver to release glucose. In these cases, a very small amount of carbohydrate paired with fat can actually reduce overnight glucose release. Cashews can fill this role, but only in a tightly controlled portion. The problem is portion creep. Cashews are soft, slightly sweet, and extremely easy to overeat. A small handful can quickly turn into a carbohydrate load, large enough to spike blood sugar at night. This is why casual or intuitive eating does not work with cashews. From a glycemic perspective, cashews have a moderate glycemic index, but their glycemic load increases rapidly with portion size. Glycemic load reflects the real blood sugar impact of a typical serving, and in the case of cashews, that impact escalates quickly once portions exceed a few nuts. This is why the only safe nighttime portion of cashews for most diabetics is 3 to 4 cashews, no more. This amount provides just enough energy to prevent hunger-driven cortisol spikes without overwhelming insulin capacity. Timing also matters. Cashews should be eaten 20 to 30 minutes before bedtime, not earlier in the evening, and not as a late-night snack after lying down. Eating them too early can overlap with other foods and increase total carbohydrate exposure. Eating them too late can disrupt digestion and sleep. Cashews should never be eaten alone at night. Pairing is essential. They must be paired with a higher fat, lower carb nut, such as macadamias or walnuts. This pairing slows digestion, blunts glucose absorption, and reduces the insulin response. Without pairing, cashews are far more likely to raise fasting sugar. According to cashews can influence HbA1c positively or negatively, depending on how they're used. HbA1c reflects average blood sugar over 8 to 12 weeks, and nighttime glucose exposure plays a large role in this average. Repeated small overnight elevations quietly push HbA1c higher, even if daytime numbers look reasonable. When cashews are eaten in excess at night, they increase overnight glucose exposure and worsen HbA1c over time. But when used correctly, rarely in tiny portions and paired properly, they do not appear to worsen HbA1c and may help some people avoid hunger-driven glucose spikes that also raise HbA1c. Clinical nutrition observations suggest that nighttime carbohydrate mismanagement is one of the most common hidden reasons HbA1c remains stubbornly high. Removing or controlling cashews at night alone has helped many people reduce HbA1c by 0.2 to 0.4 percentage points get over. For example, someone with an HbA1c of 7.9% who frequently snacks on cashews at night may see that value move closer to 7.4 to 7.6% by either eliminating or strictly controlling nighttime cashew intake. This change meaningfully reduces the risk of nerve damage, kidney strain, and cardiovascular complications. Cashews also affect sleep quality. Because they digest faster than fattier nuts, they can sometimes trigger mild glucose fluctuations during sleep, which may disturb rest and indirectly worsen insulin sensitivity the next day. This is another reason they are not ideal as a regular nighttime food. Quality matters as well. Cashews should always be raw or dry roasted without oil or salt. Salted or flavored cashews increase thirst, blood pressure, and cortisol, all of which worsen nighttime glucose control. One important point to communicate gently is individual variation. Some diabetics tolerate cashews at night better than others. This is why self-monitoring is essential. Encourage viewers to test fasting sugar for 5 to 7 nights after including cashews and stop immediately if numbers rise. Cashews are not bad, but they are not forgiving. At night, forgiving foods are the safest. Cashews demand discipline, measurement, and pairing. Without those, they quietly sabotage morning numbers. This is why cashews earn their place as the third nut on this list. Not as a free food, but as a cautionary one. When respected, they can fit into a nighttime routine. When ignored, they become one of the most common reasons fasting blood sugar stays high. If your mornings have been unpredictable, don't just look at dinner. Look at what you eat in the final hour before sleep. Nighttime nutrition sets the tone for morning glucose, and small choices compound over time. Nighttime blood sugar control isn't about eating more or eating less. It's about eating smarter. What you choose in the final 30 minutes before sleep quietly shapes the numbers you wake up to. Macadamia nuts help calm the liver and reduce overnight glucose release. Hazelnuts support stress balance and deeper sleep. And cashews, when used carefully, remind us that portion and timing matter just as much as food choice. Your mornings don't start in the morning, they start the night before. If this video helped you understand nighttime blood sugar in a clearer way, like the video and subscribe to Diabetes Healthcare. Try one of these nuts tonight in the right portion and track your fasting sugar for the next 7 days. Small, consistent nighttime choices can lead to calmer mornings and better long-term control.